Welcome to Modern Marketing Messages, the leading podcast discussing the latest and greatest in both online and offline marketing tactics, strategies, and trends. I'm your host, Taylor Karg, marketing content writer at AmericanEagle.com. In today's episode, we're diving into the art and science of high-impact CRO, techniques to optimize and drive growth. Recorded at the 2024 AmericanEagle.com forum, this session features expert insights from Sarah Gaughan and Dan Zampa. Together, they break down how conversion rate optimization through A/B testing, UX design, and strategic calls to action can transform your website into a growth machine. Get ready to learn practical techniques, hear real-world success stories, and discover how to uncover hidden opportunities to boost your conversions. Let's get started.
Welcome, everybody. We're really excited to get to present some really interesting information and techniques about CRO. So my name is Dan Zampa. I'm one of our directors of digital marketing here at AmericanEagle.com.
My name is Sarah Gaughan. I am a lead digital marketing strategist at AmericanEagle.com.
Okay, so today we're going to do a couple things. We're going to cover just the basics of CRO, A/B testing, kind of give you an understanding of what that is and what comes with CRO. We're going to talk to you about how to create a winning CRO strategy. From there, we'll talk about how you maximize your CRO results. And then we'll see some couple examples of CRO in action, some examples that, Sarah or myself have run tests on here at American Eagle and some other third-party tests that we pulled in for just observation. So go ahead, Sarah, we'll take it away.
All right, let's dive into understanding conversion rate optimization as a foundation for growth. Conversion rate optimization is that process of refining your website or a landing page to enhance user experience for engagement and conversions. You really want to keep your desired actions at the top of your mind when we're thinking about conversion rate optimization. Your desired action can vary from business to business. It may look like a purchase or a phone call or a form submission. This is what we want to optimize for when we're thinking of CRO. As a foundation, we really focus on customer behavior. We analyze user interactions and identify adjustments to improve conversions and engagement. We then move forward and A/B test these adjustments to optimize for performance. We take on a holistic approach to truly understand what drives, stops, and persuades users to act. And we use those insights to keep website design at the forefront. You may be asking yourself, how does CRO drive results? It drives results in a few different ways. First off, it recovers user roadblocks and identifies any obstacles that might prevent people from converting. It also reveals behavioral patterns where we can understand common behaviors and user motivations as they navigate your website. It also allows us to challenge assumptions and test and validate our hypotheses about user behavior. It lastly guides design decisions, where we can create a seamless, user-focused experience that boosts conversions. Some of the key elements of CRO include UX design, website speed, persuasive content, clear call to actions, and trust signals, such as reviews or testimonials.
Yeah, before you go on, Sarah, I want to pause right here. Just the importance of CRO as a whole. It's not just A/B testing. It's not just changing the color of a button, swapping out a form. You're looking at a lot of different elements that are both on-site and off-site. User behavior, website speed, marketplace changes that you want to test and how that impacts your website. So when we're thinking about CRO, there's a lot of different factors besides just simple changes on the website, although ultimately that's what we're trying to drive toward and test.
Thanks, Dan.
Next, we'll talk about crafting a CRO, a winning CRO strategy. So we're going to walk through some of the things that you want to go through and cover before you start to get into the A/B testing mindset. So we'll go to the next slide and kind of cover a few of those things.
Yes, we have a 7-step path that is proven for optimization success. We'll first want to start off with defining our key actions. These key actions are what we discussed earlier. It could be a purchase or a phone call or a form submission. We want to start by aligning those conversion goals with your business objectives. We'll then move to analyze the funnel and identify where users are dropping off before completing that conversion. This can be reviewed in an analytics tool. We'll then score your site against industry benchmarks and review competitor websites. And then we'll move into gathering user insights and understanding the motivations and obstacles through user behavior data on Google Analytics, Hotjar, or Microsoft Clarity. We'll use all these user insights to form hypotheses about different changes that we can make to your website to improve engagement or conversions. Then we'll move forward and A/B test those hypotheses. We'll finally continuously review results and adjust strategies to enhance performance by iterating and refining all of those tests.
Yeah, so by doing this, this is a really basic and pragmatic approach to CRO. Sometimes you might see you have had experiences where you jump right into testing. You're, hey, I don't like the color of this page, or my form is not converting at a high enough rate. Let's change the color of this button. Let's add in this content. Let's remove some of these fields. But we're skipping over what is the intent behind the test? What is the data telling us? What does our funnel and drop off within the funnel look like? So it's really important to kind of make sure we're aligned and define what our key actions and objectives are. We have some semblance of a funnel and can analyze that as we either test or are looking at existing data. And then the competitive review and user behavior is also really important to give us some third party insights as to what competition's doing or what's happening in our field. And then from there, it's gathering all those insights, all that information, constructing a educated hypothesis on what you think should happen or what the desired outcome will be, and then testing that and validating that with statistically significant data to make a decision. So
Yep. All of these key points here, we typically use this approach when we get any CRO engagement initially right off the bat. Let's dive into a few of these different elements in more detail. We'll start with analytics. This is typically where we begin our CRO engagement. We start by identifying any problematic pages. We typically use Google Analytics to perform this review, and we consider focusing on high traffic pages that have high exit rates or high bounce rates and low conversions on the page. Additionally, we'll create page funnel reporting to identify where users are dropping off before completing that desired conversion, and we'll review those pages with those high drop off rates.
the high drop off pages or the high traffic, high bounce rate, high exit rate pages may not always be the right place to start. It's a good starting point for us to get our arms around what we're looking at on the website. But you might have blogs that are high bounce rate, non high engagement, where that's not even where one of your desired conversion actions lives. So just sticking to high traffic pages is not always the right approach. Like every single time, but it helps get you in a good starting point. And then from there, you can kind of analyze the pages, the data you're looking at, and then start to weed out where you want to focus.
Yes, the approach will vary from client to client of ours. Another thing that we'll also keep in mind is if you're running any paid ads on social or Google, then we'll take a look at some of those landing pages as well if the results haven't been as desirable as one would hope for as a result of running those ads. And the reason why we start with these pages sometimes is that high traffic pages will bring in A/B testing results more quickly, and it also has the highest influence on conversion rates. Think about all of that traffic that we can potentially persuade to move forward with that purchase journey or that journey to submit that form. The pages with the high drop off rates also indicate any barriers to conversion. So we'll start with analytics. We'll identify a few key pages that we can improve user behavior and conversions on. And we'll move forward with those key pages and take a look at user behavior and dive a little bit deeper with those pages. As we look into user behavior, we analyze the behavior with tools such as Hotjar or Microsoft Clarity typically. We review heat maps, click maps, and user recordings at this stage. On the right, you will see a few different examples of what this might look like. The very left image there is a scroll map indicating how far users scroll down the page. The top right is a click map where it indicates where users are clicking on the page, where they're engaging, and it also will showcase what those top performing elements on the page are. And then that bottom right is an engagement zone map where it not only indicates where users are clicking on the page, but also where mouses are hovering over certain elements. So you can really tell where those key points of engagement lie with that last screenshot.
Yeah, so here we're really pairing analytics data or kind of our initiatives or goals going into it and actually layering on top real user behavior, real user insights that kind of inform some of those decisions that we made at the first step.
Yep, absolutely. And then we'll also take a look at user recordings as well. There are some key issues to look out for. The first being what we call rage clicks, which are repeated clicks and frustration. This is typically users just rage clicking on an element because something is not working how they intended it to work. We'll also look out for dead clicks, which are clicks on non-interactive elements, meaning a user is expecting a certain functionality to exist on what they're clicking on, and it's not leading users anywhere. This signals a good opportunity to lead users to their desired intent. We'll also look out for users not scrolling far enough to reach important content, such as a form that might be located at the middle or at the bottom of the page. And lastly, we'll also want to make sure through the click map that the top clicked elements are supporting those ultimate page goals. And if they're not, we might want to reconsider where those elements lie on the page and redesigning the layout so those elements are at the forefront. All right, so we took a look at, we identified the key pages we wanted to analyze through GA4. We dove into the user behavior of those specific pages a little bit more. Now it's time to move forward and brainstorm some A/B tests. At this stage, we typically generate A/B test ideas, and there's a few different steps that are involved with an A/B test. First off, we'll want to develop a hypothesis about what changes could improve conversions. We'll then want to make a few different variations. So we'll establish different variations at this stage and create 2 or more versions, let's say version A and version B, with one differing element. We'll then define our traffic split and randomly split incoming traffic between the 2 versions. Next, we'll define the audience that we want to target. This can include all users, desktop users only, returning visitors, and more. The possibilities are pretty endless here. And lastly, we'll define the metrics that we'll want to track to prove success. We'll want to make sure that the metrics we define at this stage directly relate to the change that we're making with the test.
Yeah, the important thing here too is this can get really complex. When you start talking about multivariate tests where you have 2 or more variables that you're testing with on a page, can be a little bit complex to track and also make sure that you're hitting statistical significance on any one of those variations. So we'll need to really well document that out, make sure our hypothesis is really firm and we know what we're looking for. Traffic splits don't always have to be 50-50. There's different scenarios in which you may want an even split between one or another, or if you have maybe a little bit more of an aggressive change on a page, you may not do a 50-50 split. Audience targeting, as Sarah mentioned, can be really, really varied depending on what you're looking at test. Anything from device-based, user behavior on the website, returning customers, existing customers, new customers. So all of these things don't have to be a true single button change. I'm testing this for all users. We can get pretty complex here.
Awesome. Let's take a look at what an example A/B test outline might look like. In this example, we title it Form Layout Single versus 2-Column Test. Our hypothesis stems from Hotjar, where in Hotjar, it was revealed that 40% of users do not scroll far enough to reach the Submit button on the contact form. We predict that switching from a single column to a 2-column layout of form fields will move that call to action button above the fold on most devices, and it can increase conversions. So our control is the site as is, as seen on the left, that 1-column form. And then our variation 1 would be adjusting the number of columns from 1 to 2. That first line will contain the first name and last name. The second line will contain the email address and the phone number. And then the last line will contain additional comments, and it contains that submit button as seen on the right side. Our traffic split that we decided on this one would be 50-50. So 50% of users randomly see that control, and 50% of users see that variation 1. The audience that we decided to run this on would be desktop only. And for metrics to track, we kept this one pretty simple. We're just going to track form submissions for this. All right, so we have developed our test outline. Now it's time to decide what tool to run this A/B test on.
Yeah, so when it comes to tools, there's a lot of them out there. Some of them may be native tools to your own platforms that you're running on. So something like Sitefinity Insights, the Kentico Experience platform, Sitecore Personalized, all have native A/B testing tools, which Sarah and the team is well versed on using. But in the instances where you don't have a native A/B testing platform, we've done a fair amount of research with the sunset of Google Optimize about a year ago now. And we've landed on one in particular that we really like to use in these situations. It's called VWO, but there's lots of other platforms out there that we can use, and we'll cover a few of those here today.
Awesome. Thanks, Dan. Yeah, so as Dan mentioned, we use a wide range of highly regarded tools to identify those conversion opportunities and drive optimization on websites. On that heat mapping and analytics side, we had discussed we typically use Hotjar, Microsoft Clarity, and Google Analytics. In terms of A/B testing platforms, we have experience with Optimizely, VWO, Sitefinity Insight, Kentico, and Sitecore Personalize. As a note, these are our core A/B testing platforms, but if you have an additional platform already in place, we can support that upon request. The typical tool that we like to point our clients to that are just starting off with A/B testing would be VWO. This is the one that we vetted out and took some time to vet out after the sunset of Google Optimize.
Yeah, it's got a good entry level free package that'll kind of give you a little bit of exposure to what A/B testing is or the capabilities of A/B testing within VWO. And then, obviously, as most things go, you can kind of tier up and continue to expand your bill there with the additional features. But it is a really flexible and common tool that we use now with the sunset of Optimize.
All right, so we picked out our A/B testing tool that we want to run with after we decided on that test outline. We look to build that test out on that tool and we decide to push it live. It's now running on your website. Now, here are some best practices to keep in mind as that test is live and running. First off, we want to make sure we're only running one test per page at a time. We want to avoid multiple tests on the same page to ensure clear and accurate results. If you have multiple tests running on the same page, that could really muddy your results. You want to make sure that very clearly one specific change from one specific test led to a certain result. If there's multiple tests running, it could make it a little bit more inaccurate.
Yeah, and I'll just jump in really quickly there. That's a little bit different. I mentioned multivariate tests earlier. That's okay. If we have a couple different variables that are within the same singular test that you're looking to test out and figure out the impact on, some desired action that is contained within one test, that's okay. And we have the ability to do that. But when we have multiple tests and iterations where you're splitting traffic or bringing in different user segments and personas, that's where you can get into a little bit of trouble with some of the data that comes back. So it's okay to have multiple variables within a single test, but multiple tests is going to skew your data a bit.
Yeah, you want to test limited variations, limited elements that you're differing at once. Also, as the test is running, you want to make sure you're regularly checking in on the test and keeping an eye on the test progress. Utilize your testing tool's feedback on statistical significance and confidence levels to determine when to pause that test. Those two elements will ensure that you have a high enough sample size before you pause the test. We want to make sure we're gathering enough data to achieve that statistical significance. Small sample sizes can lead to unreliable results, so give your test enough time to gather those valuable insights. Typically, you won't reach statistical significance until at least 3 weeks. You also want to aim for high confidence. Strive for a 95% confidence level whenever possible, however, that might not always be feasible. Generally, higher confidence levels do yield more desirable and reliable results. Lastly, embrace the innovation and be bold. Challenge that status quo and take creative risks. Experiment beyond those simple changes like just editing a button color.
Yeah, especially here with innovation being bold, this is our opportunity to test things without maybe going through a full blown redesign. It's a little bit more scalable in terms of, I can get a page redesigned a little bit quicker than I can a whole website. I can test and back that with data to maybe inform a redesign decision or a redesign of a series of pages on a website. So, this is your opportunity to kind of challenge the status quo, try some things that maybe we're a little bit uncertain on, and see what the results bring back.
Mhm. Okay. So this test has been running now for some time, and it's time to make a decision on whether the test was a winner. Here are some test outcomes that you might come across. First off, the variation wins. Yay, this is awesome. This means that your hypothesis won and was true. What we'll want to do next is apply that change to the website immediately to maximize that positive impact. You'll also want to consider applying that change to other applicable areas on the website. With any sort of test result, you really want to understand why that result became true. So in this case, we want to understand why the winning variation performed better, and you want to document the test structure and key findings for future reference. If, on the flip side, the control wins, do not implement the variation. Instead, we'll want to revisit analytics and user behavior data to determine reasonings behind the results. Again, we'll want to document that test structure and key learnings for future reference. And at this point, we can explore new testing options on the page or the element itself. If it comes back as inconclusive, this means that the variation is winning in some metrics, but maybe not all of the metrics. At this point, we'll want to revisit the test analytics to determine if the test duration, the traffic volume, or the segmentation was appropriate. We can decide to extend the test duration or adjust the test design. Here, we'll want to retest new hypotheses as well, and again, record the inconclusive results and potential causes. As a reminder, it can take time to learn what resonates with your site's visitors, so don't be discouraged if your variation does not win right off the bat.
Okay, so now we're going to walk you through some examples of conversion rate optimization in action. So a couple case studies from some of Sarah's work and the team's work here at AmericanEagle.com, as well as some other third-party examples that we pulled together that might be interesting. Again, some of these are a little bit simple, but these tests and these different iterations of CRO can get kind of complex. So we'll go to the next slide and walk through a few of them.
All right, we're going to involve you guys in a little survey to see if you can guess the best performing version. This is an example from VWO where we can see a test that was placed on a form. So in the control, we see a single line of form fields with the first name, last name, email, zip code, and telephone number. We also see a submit button and a trustee certified privacy seal. In variation 1, they removed the trustee certified privacy seal and they extended the width of the submit button a little bit longer. By a show of hands, how many people think that the control won in this situation? All right, how many people think the variation won? All right, let's find out. The variation won in this instance with a 12.6% lift in form submissions, which is a pretty big lift for just removing that security seal.
And also interesting too that that might not be intuitive, right? Like the trust seal, we are secure, we have, certified your privacy is secure with us. That would maybe indicate to me at least like, hey, that one for sure is outwinning or outperforming the variation. But simple changes like that actually can open up some interesting results when you're testing them. So
Yeah, this is why it's important to test because you just don't know what you could be leaving on the table. This company here, when they performed this test, they dug into the user behavior a little bit more behind why the results were this way for this test. And it was discovered that the trustee certified privacy seal is typically on the shopping cart page of their website. And so it was suspected, whether consciously or unconsciously, these users were expecting to perform some sort of transaction or make a purchase, and they weren't anticipating it on this lead generation form. This could have deterred people from submitting the form overall. So by the removal of it, it attracted more people to submit the form. The submit button also was enlarged a little bit as well, but we suspect that the main cause for this was removing that privacy seal. We're going to do another one. All right, here's another one. So this is another one from VWO, and they highlighted HubSpot and a landing page that they had. This is a product demo lead generation form. So on the left, we see the control, and you see like a description of what to expect with the product demo, and you also see a form on the right-hand side. And in variation 1, we see that they added a real-life HubSpot employee image to their page. They added it to the top of their form. They also added a additional call to action that reads, "So what are you waiting for? Grab a demo today." And they have some arrows to nudge people towards the form as well. So, show of hands, who thinks the control won? Who thinks the variation won? All right, let's see.
the scary lady deterred some conversion. There's
All right, so the control won with 24% more form submissions overall, which is surprising. People wouldn't naturally think that. And I get it. Designers love faces. They love adding it to the websites, and it's the first thing that the eye sees when they land on a page. But what you have to keep in the mind is whether or not it's going to deter people from filling out the form. In this case, it was a distraction for people filling out the form, and it ultimately caused people not to fill it out. It also pushed that form a little bit lower on the page as well. So this is just something to keep in mind whenever you add additional elements to your page. You really want to make sure you're testing them because you have no idea just how many conversions you might be leaving on the table.
especially when it's a high impact page. So if it's some sort of path to purchase or path to conversion type page, I mean, yes, design updates are nice and they're important, but we're going to make sure if it is a high impact page for us, we want to test it first.
Awesome. All right, let's dive into some case studies that we have seen by ourselves here at AmericanEagle.com with some of our clients. This first client we are highlighting is a full-service technical maintenance company, and the outline of this test might sound familiar. It's very similar to the example that I provided earlier on in the presentation. The title of this is Boosting Conversions with a New Form Structure. The hypothesis was the contact form submit button was below the fold on desktop, causing users to miss that call to action. Switching the form from one column to two will move that call to action higher and boost submissions. The control was that one column of form fields, where variation 1 was 2 columns of form fields, and it pushed that call to action higher on the page. The results were that variation 1 led to a 13.27% increase in form submission conversions.
Yeah, and I think this was one of very early on tests in this engagement that you did and ended up being like one of the first things we spotted and just made that broad change across the remainder of the site where those forms existed. So it was a nice quick win that we got under our belt. First engagement that this client had with us on this. So it was a nice win to see.
Yeah, absolutely. And just that small change does make a pretty hefty impact. Another example we have comes from an automobile accessory manufacturer. And this title is How Adding Urgency Influences Purchase Decisions. Our goal was to reduce drop-off rates on product description pages. By adding a sense of urgency to popular product description pages, it can influence more users to add that product to their cart, therefore increasing revenue down the line. So the control was the site as is. The product page did not contain any sense of urgency. What we did was we added a going fast urgency pop-up on a list of select popular product pages. The result of this was that the variation led to a 5.3% increase in add to cart clicks on those product pages, and then later down the line, a 4.1% increase in overall revenue.
Yeah, those two things being tied together. So that message, the marketing message, a little bit of content on the page, increased the add to carts, and then overall from those sessions, a 4.1% increase in revenue versus the message not being present at all.
Yes, we were tracking add to cart clicks and revenue as two different metrics within this test, and these were the results that we saw.
Okay, so we'll summarize some final thoughts and kind of what we talked about from CRO from a basic standpoint, how you want to construct your engagement or your testing, some of the tools that you want to use, and what are some of the good takeaways from this presentation.
Yeah, so by now we've all learned the science behind CRO and how it can significantly boost your website's performance, engagement, and conversions. With the right tools and a dedicated CRO strategist, you can see real improvements over time. We learned and we understood CRO and its impact on conversion rates. We also recognized that CRO strategy involves analytics, behavior data, hypotheses, and continuous testing. We also learned how to leverage the right tools and technology for data evaluation and testing. And lastly, we realized that CRO is an ongoing process requiring continuous adaptation to evolving user behavior, trends, market conditions, and technology. AmericanEagle.com has a few different ways that we support your CRO initiatives. We like to kick things off with a conversion rate optimization audit and strategy. This includes a landing page report, conversion funnel report, user engagement review, user behavior insights, A/B testing strategy, an A/B platform recommendation, and CRO recommendations. We then move into ongoing conversion rate optimization support, which includes A/B test builds, UX design creation, test data analysis and recommendations, winning variation implementation on your website, test iteration, and ongoing CRO reporting. If you're ready to boost your conversions, reach out to your experts at AmericanEagle.com. We are more than happy to help your website soar. Thank you, everyone, for joining us for our presentation today. We would like to open the floor for questions, and we also have a final survey of the day if you would like to leave your feedback on the QR code.
Yeah, it's difficult, right? Like you can't have everybody put a hold on everything they're doing. But I think Sarah mentioned too in the beginning is when you're identifying those pages or what elements you're looking to test, like big things you want to look out for are any paid campaigns running traffic to that site. Seasonality is another big thing. And I think it's just being cognizant of those other efforts going on and maybe doing that test a couple different times throughout the year or different points in time, not just a one and done thing. It might be a peak season for salesmen that are, bringing in new prospects or things of that nature. So you may want to test it a couple times throughout the year or in a given period of time. And then other things like user behavior or device-based type of things, we can segment that stuff out. But I think other parts of your company, you just really got to have a general knowledge of what's going on and then just have that be a part of your hypothesis process.
Yeah, the question was, what percent of tests do we think on average receive inconclusive results? And I would answer that with, I would probably range that around like 50% or so. And what you do when you get those inconclusive results is, again, iterate, refine it, change specific elements to get a more conclusive result. If it comes back as inconclusive, there's a few things you can do. You can limit the amount of variations you're testing. You can limit the design elements that you're testing as well. And just refine it overall to get a conclusive result. But I would say around 50%.
Yeah, so Optimizely is a little bit more of an enterprise solution. The optimized version was kind of like the more entry level version from Google. We did evaluate a couple different platforms, and Sarah does have experience with those as well. But I think for the entry level free version of VWO, it kind of gets us what we need to get an engagement started, and then some of the features and enhancements they have as part of their paid plans, kind of really give you what you need to have an effective A/B test. If you want to speak to some of those different things that they have.
Yeah, sure. So in an entry level position, you can set up most A/B tests on there. There's like all the capabilities that we would need to set up any of the recommendations that we typically give. You also have a lot of flexibility with the metrics that you set up as well. So there's not many limitations there, and there's not many limitations in terms of audiences that you target. And then if you scale up with their plans, there's additional really nice capabilities such as like personalization, heat mapping, and user recordings that are all within the tool. So if you're running a test and you are looking for heat maps or user recordings from people that navigate through a certain variation, you can get that all within the same platform.
It depends on what the length of your engagement's gonna be, right? If you wanna have this be an ongoing commitment, then yeah, I would say just incorporate it all into one tool so you don't have, 3, 4 different contracts to manage. But if you're looking to explore and kinda check it out just to dip your feet in, then, Hotjar or Clarity would be a good route. I think they also have free versions that you can leverage there too. So, that may be the way you're going with a couple different tools.
Yep, for entry level, there's free versions of Hotjar, Clarity, and VWO. So that can be really nice to get your feet wet. Yep.
Yeah, the question was, have you done anything to discourage your behavior, kind of like a reverse optimization? And I think, Sarah, you might have been a part of this one. At least I recall years ago when I was first starting out here. There was something to do with like abandonment and checkout, and the ability to exit a checkout is more of a captive checkout, so we didn't let people leave once they were there. Um, that wasn't our decision. It was part of working with a customer, but obviously a little bit more contained checkout for certain products and things of that nature. But I don't know, Sarah, if you've had any other examples. That was one I recall years ago.
Yeah, that's one that typically gets used on checkout, but also landing pages. So reducing the amount of areas where someone can navigate through a menu or different drop downs when someone lands on the page, and just limiting it to potentially like your company's logo. And then people can navigate to your homepage from the logo. Otherwise, they fill out the form and they read the information that's below it on the landing page, but they can't directly get distracted and navigate to different elements within your categories.
You might see that commonly on like paid search specific landing pages where you don't get the full, global nav. You get an icon and you have very limited options because the intent is you're paying for that traffic driving that landing page. You don't want them to navigate elsewhere. So, yeah, we've seen that quite a bit.
Thanks for listening to Modern Marketing Messages. Check out below for more information about this episode and AmericanEagle.com's digital marketing services. This podcast is brought to you by AmericanEagle.com Studios. I'm Taylor Kark, and we'll be back with another Modern Marketing Message.